The 7 Ninja Swordsmen in Naruto are often portrayed as fearsome and brutal. They hail from the Hidden Mist Village, which in modern history spent a relatively decent portion of its time being known as the Blood Mist Village. The Blood Mist Village is known for being the tyrannical village. The main hallmark of this village is the concept of killing comrades in order to gain power, which is the curse and legacy that Black Zetsu instilled in shinobi. When looking at it from this lens, we can thus glean that the 7 Ninja Swordsmen should be viewed as victims of circumstance in addition to perpetrators of the same oppression that they suffered from. In this video, I will only be referencing the 7 Ninja Swordsmen of Naruto's time, Zabuza, Raiga, and Kisame. Our first experience with Zabuza is his attempted obstruction of the bridge, and thus Ninshu, through his mission from Gato to murder the bridge builder Tazuna. However, his story starts before that. The youngest depiction of Zabuza is the flashback in which he killed his classmates. The Blood Mist Village's graduation exam required each student to kill one classmate, and Zabuza killed all of his classmates. Both the system and Zabuza himself paint Zabuza out to be a demon, but my theory is that he killed his classmates in order to protect them from the monsters that they would be forced to become. He shouldered the weight of being a demon. Zabuza then attempts a coup d'etat and is forced to flee, meeting Haku somewhere along the way. When Zabuza meets Haku, he tells him that he'll die out here with nothing, not even a dream, to which Haku replies, "Your eyes are like mine, mister, we're both the same." Haku saw Zabuza's loneliness and acknowledged it. Haku smiled up at him, which indicates that he is still in touch with his inner child, regardless of how much suffering he endured, even when he was starving on a bridge in the frigid snow. Zabuza raised Haku outside of teaching him to be a shinobi, which is something we, of course, see paralleled with Raiga and Ranmaru. Cut to the Land of Waves arc. During the first fight with Kakashi, if you look under the initial fear and terror that Zabuza portrays, you see everything laid bare. Zabuza trying to scare Team 7 indicates that he is trying to educate them and deter them from continuing the path of shinobi. Zabuza mocking Kakashi's little speech, the one where he says, "I'll protect you with my life, all of you. I will not allow my comrades to die. Trust me," indicates that Zabuza feels guilt for not being able to protect his comrades from the path of shinobi. When Zabuza realizes he attacked Kakashi's water clone, he says, "You made your clone say those words to draw my attention while you hid in the mist waiting for me to make my move." While he looks back, the intensity in his eyes indicates that he is not talking to Kakashi, instead that he's experiencing PTSD. He's having flashbacks of the system that says that it will protect regardless, but makes others act for them. The system does not protect shinobi do, but they are hurt by the same system that promises protection. After Kakashi is trapped in the water prison jutsu, Zabuza mocks Team 7. Says they can only be called ninja when they are added to his bingo book. After that, he kicks Naruto and steps on his headband. Naruto recounts his blood oath and takes his headband back. As he fastens his headband on his forehead, he says, "Put this in your bingo book. The ninja that will become Hokage of the village hidden in the leaves. He never backs down. His name's Naruto Uzumaki." Zabuza appears shaken and then angry from this. Zabuza and the other 7 ninja swordsmen have trauma from being shinobi, but a freshly graduated genin has a determination in his gaze that sparks hope and change. During the fight on the bridge, Zabuza puts emphasis on Haku and Sasuke being rivals because they are of similar age and are both strong. He wants Haku to fight Sasuke to experience gaining power through rivalry, which is of course a projection of his past experience and trauma. However, Zabuza did not gain power through rivalry as his graduation exam was completely one-sided. He would have actually benefited from a rival that was near or on his level. Also, Naruto was overall more beneficial for Haku's development as he met him through a place of love, not power. Haku did not need any more power. The only thing that he lacked was love. The same goes for Zabuza. Naruto was able to be what Haku and Kid Zabuza needed to both of them at the end. Something that Kakashi says to Zabuza is, quote, "I won't allow you to kill Tazuna. He's a brave man with a noble dream. The bridge he's building is the hope of this land and all its people. You're like a disease. By attacking one, you infect all. You don't care. That is not the way of the shinobi." Zabuza replies something along the lines of, "Why should I care about this land or their dreams?" However, this is technically what he has always been fighting for. This is why he attempted the coup d'etat and why he wanted to try again. However, his goal was short-sighted as he was more concerned with taking the head of the oppression, which in turn ignored the oppressed and the others who were loyal to the head. A relevant thing to note here is that when Naruto made his blood oath earlier in the arc, he said, "Bridge Builder, I'll complete this mission and protect you with this kunai knife." This arc culminated with Haku dying at the hands of Kakashi's Chidori. Naruto was able to convince Zabuza to see his true self underneath it all and accept his pain. After Naruto's speech, Zabuza says, "While he fought you, his heart was breaking in two. You see, Haku was always too soft and too kind. He felt pain and sorrow, and now, curse him, I feel them too. And something else, I feel content that this is the way it ends." Zabuza then takes off his mask and says, "Well, cat got your tongue? Are you so surprised to discover that I'm human? Even shinobi are human. No matter how hard we try to escape that simple fact, we always fail. Well, at least I have failed. Boy, give me your kunai." Zabuza kills Gato with Naruto's kunai, the same kunai that Naruto vowed to protect the bridge builder with. He protects the bridge between him and Haku, the bridge of Ninshu. This also protects the actual bridge, the Great Naruto Bridge. Even the demon is a shinobi, and even a shinobi is a human. Zabuza's real successful coup d'etat is actually the end. His reformation of the system is acknowledging and embodying his own pain. In his death, he took out an aspect of the system that discriminates against shinobi, Gato. Gato is one of the richest people in the world, and he hires rogue shinobi to do his work. This is a poisonous aspect of the system that needed to go. Sure, it may not be the system that he wanted to dismantle, but he realized that in his attempt to dismantle the Blood Mist Village, he was still under the system, still supporting the system to end it. However, in killing Gato, he saved real people and he made tangible change. Now into the Raiga arc. To sum up Raiga's role in his arc, he took over a village and created a gang that oppressed its villagers. When any of the villagers displeased Raiga, he would hold a funeral for them. He would bury them alive and then weep over their grave, detailing some type of violence or otherwise that he committed against them as if it was a good thing, and expressing sorrow at their retaliation. This is honestly one of the darkest arcs in Naruto as a whole. After the introduction funeral at the beginning of the arc, 3 men go to the Hidden Leaf Village to commission them. Naruto, Neji, Lee, and Tenten are all sent on this mission. Now there are 3 key factors of this arc. The first is the base of operations, which is a restaurant that makes curry ran by Grandma Sancho and Karashi, and by extension, of course, Sancho and Karashi themselves. The second is Raiga, and the third is Ranmaru. Rock Lee and Might Guy have a history with this village, specifically the curry shop. During training, they ran so much that they ran in their sleep. When Rock Lee completely collapsed after running in his sleep for 3 days, Karashi added a bunch of ingredients to the curry, thus creating the curry of life. Rock Lee attributes this curry to saving his life. The curry of life in this arc is the narrative vehicle for Ninshu, of course, connection through love. Raiga holds a funeral for Rokusuke, one of the 3 men that commissioned the Leaf Village. Yet again, Raiga details how happy Rokusuke was when he did something bad. Growing up as a shinobi in general, but especially as a shinobi in the Blood Mist Village, you can assume that funerals are commonplace. While at Rokusuke's funeral, Raiga says, "I like funerals, they're so nostalgic." Props to the anime team, by the way, because they're so good at capturing emotion in the eyes. As he says this, it looks as if he is remembering, which indicates he is acting in the throes of PTSD. Raiga detailing how happy somebody is when Raiga does something bad is of course also relevant. Shinobi and children in general are often stripped of their autonomy. In a lot of cases, when it comes to trauma, a common coping mechanism is to believe that being hurt was protection. In addition to this, lying to yourself and believing that you are happy when you are in fact miserable is probably something that Raiga did a lot. When you feel that life has no meaning, but you're forced to continue down the same path, you can eventually convince yourself that you are happy when you're not. When Nanmaru asks if Raiga will give him a nice funeral, Raiga says, "Don't talk nonsense. There will be no funeral for you because you're not going to die. Besides, I don't need a funeral to remember the good times we shared. You've always been a good boy." This is honestly heartbreaking. Of course, Raiga and Nanmaru's relationship is toxic, but they are ultimately parallels of Zabuza and Haku. Raiga and Zabuza see their inner child through Nanmaru and Haku, respectively. When Raiga tells Nanmaru, "You've always been a good boy," that's ultimately something he always needed to hear. Something significant about Raiga's funerals is he states at a separate point in time that he does not hold funerals for people he does not know or care about, which is significant when he says he would not hold a funeral for the Hidden Leaf villagers because their faces spark no memories. I also like how separately he says he hates Kisame, but then states the next time he sees him he's going to hold a funeral for him. Now, come to find out during this arc, Karashi joined the Kurosuke family because of his inferiority complex, and his need to be a part of something greater than himself. After the funeral for Rokusuke, Rock Lee goes to attack Karashi, who has his hood up. He stops and stays his punch, just like Naruto did when Haku was unmasked. Naruto goes to talk sense into Karashi, but Rock Lee wants to handle it. Rock Lee says, "Karashi, that was more than just a delicious curry you used to make. It literally saved my life. You have a gift. You would give that up to join these people who do not even care about human life? How can you?" To which Karashi replies, "What did I ever get for sweating over that stupid pot all day? Nothing. Joining the Kurosuke, I became a part of something bigger, something powerful and feared. I'm important now, not some nobody stuck in the kitchen of a stinky little curry shop." Naruto exclaims, "I've had it with this guy. He's never gonna listen to reason." When Naruto goes to punch him, Rock Lee punches Karashi instead. Rock Lee says, "Karashi, not only did you bring me back from the brink of death with your curry, but you taught me a lesson I have never forgotten. You taught me that if you put your heart and soul into something, anything can happen. You can change the world. I learned that even someone like me can accomplish great things if I tried hard enough. That was your gift. You say you want to be more powerful and respected. You are a better man then. Turn back, Karashi. You must turn away from this path you have taken. Be the man you once were." Of course, even though Karashi says he'll change, he doesn't. He still tries to be with the Kurosuke family after Raiga is presumed dead, until Rock Lee promises the villagers that he will take responsibility for Karashi, pleading with the villagers to give him a second chance to make life-saving curry at the noodle shop. Later in the arc, Karashi also lies to Raiga about the Leaf Village killing Nanmaru after Raiga refused to listen to reason. This time he didn't act out of malice though. Karashi was just trying to protect Grandma Sancho. This plot specifically ties back to what I mentioned in my first video, which is people acting out of cowardice when they lack the power to protect what is precious to them. To lead with Ninshu, you need both power and love, and if you do not have both within connections, especially large-scale ones like villages and communities, the balance is distorted. In the Land of Waves arc, Naruto and the connection of Ninshu established with the villagers allowed the villagers to step into their own personal power, so nobody was able to mess with the village again. Karashi and the village itself ultimately do not have this power until the end of the arc. Anyway, back to Raiga. When Naruto and Team Guy face off against Raiga initially, Raiga says, "I carry the burden of all the hopes and fears of everybody who works in the Katabami gold mine. The people depend on me to keep the village safe from intruders." Raiga ultimately believes this. This is something he also probably believed as a 7 ninja swordsman. With great power comes great responsibility. The 7 ninja swordsmen are essentially the glorified dogs of the Mist Village government. They are the strongest, sure. They get recognition for that, sure. However, every life they take and every life that they could not save is their burden to bear. Their accomplishments are attributed to the nation itself, but they alone bear the consequences of their accomplishments. When Raiga speaks to Ranmaru during his fight, he says, "We're strong, you and I. No, it's really you, Ranmaru. And when I'm with you, your strength is mine." The nature of their relationship is dependency on the other to provide themselves with something they perceive that they lack within themselves. Similar to Zabuza and Haku, Raiga and Nanmaru reflect their inner child to each other. Zabuza raises Haku, and Raiga raises Nanmaru. In doing so, they get to vicariously experience the childhood that they wish they could have had, while simultaneously forcing the child they are raising to experience the hardships that they are intending to flee. This is similar to many parents like in real life. This is the very essence that people convey when they talk about breaking generational trauma. Nanmaru tells the team his backstory. Raiga essentially infiltrated Nanmaru's village with the intent to kill spies, but he just killed everybody at random because he couldn't target the spies. He threatens to kill Nanmaru. Nanmaru says, "It's okay if you're the one taking my life." Raiga responded, "Huh? Me? What do you mean?" Nanmaru said, "I saw you always crying." "What? Me? Cry?" Nanmaru says, "Deep in your heart, as you search for meaning in your life, you see I've been watching you. I'm the same as you. Living is painful. I've longed to understand the meaning of my life. My illness forces me indoors, shunned by everyone. All I can do is peer out at the world from under this blanket. But if in my death you're able to glean some meaning behind this thing we call living, well, then who am I to stop you?" And then he faces the blade and he says, "Go ahead." Raiga says, "You're alone then?" Nanmaru nods, and Raiga picks Nanmaru up. "From here on out, you and I shall be as one." Nanmaru then tells the team, "That was the day I became Raiga's eyes and ears, and Raiga became my hands and feet. The outside world that we dashed into was filled with things I saw and heard for the first time in my life. It was so much fun. Wherever and whenever I was with Raiga, nothing else mattered. We were never apart. We were trying to find the meanings in our lives by living for each other, and we were convinced we found the answer. That's why if Raiga is gone, I have no reason to live. Without him, I have no purpose in this world, no cause to exist." Of course, as Nanmaru is recounting this, Naruto remembers Haku. Nanmaru then says, "There's no need for me to be here any longer." Naruto then remembers Haku asking him to kill him. Nanmaru then says, "Go on, why do you hesitate? My arms and legs are crippled. I'm powerless to resist you. You have a mission to carry out, don't you? Well, hurry up and finish it." Naruto genuinely experienced so much trauma from the Land of Waves arc. Of course, the Land of Waves arc is where he solidified his ninja way, which is to go against the already established ninja way of the world. At Zabuza and Haku's grave, Team 7 asks Kakashi very existential questions that Kakashi has been asking himself for most of his life. When asked the meaning of the current shinobi way, Kakashi says, "Well, it's a question without an answer, and that is something we ninja have to deal with every day of our lives, like Zabuza and the kid." Naruto, in solidifying his ninja way, then says, "Okay, I've just come to a decision. From now on, I'm finding my own ninja way, a way that's straight and true and without any regrets. From now on, I'm following the way of Naruto." I spoke in my previous videos about Kakashi never pushing back on Team 7's decisions, especially Naruto's, unless the mission specifically requires that they do not act on their own. Kakashi lived through a lot of experiences that most shinobi ultimately do not experience. Kakashi pondered many questions people do not even think to ask. Kakashi granting Team 7 leniency is ultimately an act of breaking the generational curse of shinobi. Also here, Nanmaru mirrors Haku's experience. Nanmaru and Haku both experienced the existentialism of shinobi before they were even considered shinobi. They were both forced onto the path of shinobi despite never wanting it. The powers that they were born with dictated their choice. Before Nanmaru tells his backstory to the team, Tenten specifically says that they should leave him to fend for himself because she hates weak, indecisive people. Of course, after hearing his backstory, she experiences compassion for him, but I think this mirrors society where people wield their sympathy like a currency. Tenten ultimately, up until this point, has experienced little to no significantly traumatic shinobi experiences. The only ones I can think of off the top of my head is witnessing the cruelty of the Chunin exams as well as Orochimaru's attack on the Leaf Village. In the eyes of a shinobi, especially a young one who has not yet experienced enough to veer away from the shinobi conditioning, those two examples had meaning. The government dictates the Chunin exams, so the cruelty is not questioned on a larger scale. It is seen as a necessary rite of passage. Since shinobi are being tested, they are expected to act with the intent to kill. Thus, the trauma that Tenten experienced being beat by Temari is categorized logically in her mind as a rite of passage, in addition to the cruelty of another village. Orochimaru's attack on the Leaf Village also had a clear enemy. The enemies were the Sand Village, the Sound Village, and Orochimaru himself. Nanmaru's case is different. Nanmaru feels he cannot live without Raiga because he cannot walk, because Raiga is all he knew. This is not a situation to be judged through the lens of right and wrong. Tenten is looking at this from the lens of her own experience, where she is able-bodied and capable of doing mostly anything on her own. I feel that this mirrors society and people's general apathy towards disabled people, regardless of whether they want to feel that apathy or not. After Ranmaru eats the curry of life, he is able to walk again. I feel that this is an allegory for learned helplessness through forced dependence. Considering the curry of life is the narrative vehicle for Ninshu connection and, by extension, love, this conveys that the real love Ranmaru received is the necessary nourishment and support he needed, in addition to the space and encouragement he needs to live his life for himself. When Tenten feeds Ranmaru the curry of life, she says, "So, is it good? What you're feeling, that's what it feels like to live." To which Ranmaru responds, "Raiga, I want him to eat this curry too." This conveys that Ranmaru wants Raiga to be able to live for himself as well. He wanted Raiga to experience the love that he needed to be able to face the future with fervor. Ranmaru brings Raiga the curry and says, "I brought you the curry of life. I want you to try it. If you do, you'll understand that you're not alone. Its spices blend together like the feelings of all mankind. We've hurt too many. Please, we have to stop." Raiga fights back against this, says he cannot remember Ranmaru the way that he was anymore, so he has to give him a funeral now. Raiga says, "Ranmaru, you're the only one who's been a friend to me in this life, but you don't need me now. You've made other friends. We'll never be two halves of the same soul again. Impudent wretch. Who was it that taught you about the outside world to begin with? A funeral it is." Naruto beats Raiga up, and Raiga falls off the cliff. As he falls, he thinks, "Ranmaru, you're finally free now." Then he says, "Come, lightning, give me a funeral worth remembering." He commits suicide via his jutsu, lightning burial, banquet of lightning. I think the name of that jutsu is very significant. His entire motif is giving funerals to remember others by. Of course, like I said earlier, this is probably because as a shinobi, he has experienced many funerals. Funerals are typically an occasion where people who have not seen each other in a long time reunite, which is honestly why I personally dislike them. I think that there are many negative implications to that. However, funerals are probably the only real socialization that Raiga ever experienced. Many cultures also eat a lot of food during a funeral, which makes the banquet part so fitting. Banquets are usually feasts in the presence of a lot of people, so many people that it's a community, right? Also, the curry of life is the narrative vehicle for Ninshu, and by extension, love. In this arc, to feed is to love. Raiga, robbed of his childhood, never experienced love nor community. In his fear to face the future alone, he took his life. In terms of Kisame's backstory, I will only be referencing one episode for the most part, Naruto Shippuden, episode 251. Kisame protects the Cypher Corps. A girl on the Cypher Corps, Miru, tries to get Kisame to join the rest of the Cypher Corps during their meal, but he refuses. The other members of the Cypher Corps kind of belittle Kisame, and she apologizes on their behalf, says maybe after the mission they can go get dinner. Kisame is told by the previous wielder of Samehada that the intel should not make it into enemy hands. Every time a member of the Cypher Corps is downed, Kisame kills them. Kisame and the rest of the Cypher Corps reach a ravine that they cannot cross. Kisame kills the members of the Cypher Corps. Miru, the girl, asks, "But why?" Kisame responds, because killing my comrades is my specialty, my personal mission. Miru says, that's so sad, you have a terrible life, before she dies. She does not treat him with contempt, instead she pities him. She has empathy for him. The fact that she even had the mindset to imply that she wants to go on a date with him implies that the work that Kisame does, and by extension the rest of the 7 ninja swordsmen, is largely unknown by the village. The burdens that they have to carry are not only to protect the village, but also, of course, harm some of their own. The cost of ninja like her being able to dream of a future is ninja like him only living for the mission. After this, Kisame kills the previous wielder of Samehada, his master. The same guy who told him to not let the code get into the enemy's hands, even if it means killing them. The same guy who burdened him with the fate of killing his comrades. Zabuza's attempted murder of Yagura and his successful murder of Gato was done with the intent of destroying the cycle of suffering that shinobi have to endure, to eradicate the obstruction of the bridge of Ninshu. It can, by extension, be inferred that this is the reasoning for Kisame's murder of his master. After Kisame takes down his master, Yagura states that he figured he would let his guard down around his subordinate. This conveys that Ninshu, connection, and trust are not something that you can ultimately stop, even if you want to and think that you are. It is the human condition to be around others, to thrive in community. Even the master who forces a subordinate to take down his comrades ultimately falls prey to the very connection he advises against. Yagura says that Kisame is now his subordinate, and Kisame quips that he is until Yagura decides to dispose of him. Yagura says, I can trust you because of who you are, Kisame. For the sake of our nation and village, you've done our dirty work, and additionally, you followed through on traitorous assignments. You're well aware this world is full of lies and deceit. Kisame responds, that's right, I knew all about it from the very moment that I first killed a comrade. I killed a hidden ninja despite being one myself. So what am I then? An enemy or an ally? What is my purpose? My status? Where am I trying to get? And where can I go to achieve inner peace? There's only one thing clear to me, that I felt I was trapped in a false existence. Also, just a side note, I really like that he says, where can I go to achieve inner peace? And he dies right next to the waterfall of truth. I think that's like very significant. Like he comes out of the waterfall of truth, right? Anyway, then Madara says, allow me to free you from the pain of those falsehoods. I will create a place where you belong. Then Kisame says, who are you? Madara says, we'll start with this nation. We have toiled to deal with and dispose of your comrades up until now. Join me and become my comrade. Kisame says, you seem to be willing to put your trust in me, but I can't reciprocate since I still have no idea who you are. That gleaming eye in the dark. Ah yes, I see it now. So the person I believed to be the 4th Mizukage was actually you all along. I can't believe that the Sharingan was manipulating him. I guess this world really is full of lies. But you, visual prowess great enough to control the 3 tails Jinchuriki. Just who exactly are you? Tell me. And then Madara says, Madara Uchiha. Madara almost reveals himself. Kisame, under interrogation, bites off his own tongue, so I believe it's Alba, does not see the true identity, which is Obito posing as Madara. After he wills himself awake, Kisame remembers the rest. Quote, Madara says, Project Tsuki no Me. It will be a true world free of lies. Kisame, in his death, thinks, I would have liked to have gone there. And then he also thinks, Itachi, it's just like you said, and he remembers meeting Itachi for the first time. Kisame introduces himself to Itachi and says he heard the rumors. Quote, I think that we're alike, you and I. That's the reason that I wanted to be teamed with you in the Akatsuki. It's really indescribable, isn't it? Killing your comrades is quite a sensation, wouldn't you say so, Itachi? Itachi responds, you talk a lot. You don't understand me, you don't even understand yourself. You're just a thug who got lost in the mist and ended up here. You can't even control where you're going. Am I wrong? Kisame then, talks about sharks and says some sharks eat each other when they're born. Kisame tells Itachi to be wary of him, and then Itachi says, same goes for you. Kisame responds, well, let's be friends and have some fun, alright? And hope we will not end up as each other's final opponents. Itachi then says, No one who dares to raise their hand against a comrade ever dies a decent death. Remember that. Kisame says, well, that means our fates are sealed. Seems you and I are depraved and worthless. Itachi says, not true. We're both human, not fish. No matter who you are, you do not truly know what kind of man you've become until you reach the very end. One realizes one's true nature at the moment of death. Don't you think that's what death is about? Kisame, as he dies feeding himself to his sharks, he reminisces and says, or thinks, I think, Itachi, did you find it at the moment of your death? Did you discover the kind of person you truly were? Well, Itachi, it seems that in the end, I was not a worthless human being after all. Naruto, after witnessing this, existentialism with like good versus bad, right? He says, but still, he died instead of giving up intel on his comrades. Even in the Akatsuki, there remains some who put their comrades ahead of themselves. Guy also interjects and says, an admirable foe. A shinobi's life is measured by the manner of his death. Kisame Hoshigaki, I will remember you the rest of my life. Ultimately, Kisame experienced the same existentialism that every shinobi does, especially the shinobi that are forced to carry the burdens that the majority of the world, even other shinobi, are not privy to. Like Kakashi said, it's a question without an answer. Madara, aka Obito, promised to provide an answer. Promised Kisame he would usher in a true world free of lies. Besides the memory of Itachi, his yearning for that world was one of the last things he thought before he died. Kisame's entire life after usurping his master was lived with the anticipation to live as his authentic self. This is why Itachi said he does not understand himself. This is why Itachi said he got lost in the mist. And this is why Itachi said he cannot control where he is going. Kisame, in striving for a world free of lies, paradoxically continued to lie to himself. This is ultimately what Obito faced in being groomed by Madara. Living your life for the goal of one day being able to create a world free of lies causes you to abandon yourself and the reality that you are living right here and now. Kisame was not able to face himself in his full integrity because he accepted the labels that he was groomed to embody, while wanting to create a world where others are not forced to be somebody they do not want to be. Kisame relates to Itachi on the notion that they both revel in killing their comrades, when that reality is not true for either of them. They were both put in situations that they ultimately could not resist. They made the mistakes that they made because they were forged to do so. This is why Itachi responded the way that he did. Itachi acknowledged that he does not even see himself and the situation for how it was. Might Guy's reaction to Kisame is very similar to Naruto's reaction to Zabuza. Naruto's beef with Zabuza after Zabuza was not officially considered their enemy anymore was that Zabuza lies to himself. Like I said in my video about the significance of the bridge, the reason that Naruto told Sakura that he hates people who lie to themselves is because in lying to yourself, you forsake yourself. Zabuza lying to himself about not loving Haku was forsaking himself. This is why he ultimately accepted Zabuza at the end, despite all of the wrongdoing Zabuza committed. Zabuza finally faced himself outside of it all and accepted his true feelings, shedding the mask of lies that he was forced to wear as a shinobi groomed by the system. Every run-in with Kisame that Might Guy had, Might Guy forgot who he was. However, in this fight, Might Guy acknowledges Kisame's name and says he will remember him the rest of his life. Might Guy is acknowledging the real Kisame, not the Kisame that spent all those years lying to himself. Might Guy witnessed him step into his integrity and fully, truly face himself in the end. To summarize this video, the 7 ninja swordsmen are victims of circumstance. Burdened with great power, they are robbed of genuine connection and forced to become glorified dogs of the government. They are forced to grow up too fast, even faster than the rest of the Blood Mist Village. Starved of their access to their inner child, they flee the Mist Village, attempting to find themselves in a world that they only ever trampled on in the name of the government. Outside the protection of said government, they find themselves unable to fend for themselves. They both have no place to belong and also have to fight off the pursuers of the Blood Mist Village. Zabuza finds Haku, and Raiga finds Ranmaru. Haku and Ranmaru reflect their inner child, the one they were starved of. Zabuza and Raiga ultimately both live vicariously through Haku and Ranmaru, as well as perpetuate the cycle of abuse the government put them through. They do not break the cycle until the end, when Zabuza faces himself and his truth, striking down Gato, and when Raiga thinks, Ranmaru, you're finally free now, before killing himself. Kisame is tasked with killing his comrades. Even though he ultimately does not want to, he adopts that as a part of his identity through force. He is robbed of the opportunity to have a future or a dream, as are the rest of the 7 ninja swordsmen. This is ultimately why many fans, and also the Hidden Mist Village themselves, are appalled by the rebels attempting to revitalize the 7 ninja swordsmen and Blood Mist Village in Boruto. When Hebi Ichigo was attempting to kill Chojuro pointed out her fear of being stabbed and then said something along the lines of, if you fear being cut, you can never sever bone. Chojuro seems to be the first 7 ninja swordsman after the dismantling of the Blood Mist Village, considering how young he was in Shippuden. However, he still understands the level of resolve you need to be a 7 ninja swordsman even in an age of peace. Ultimately, the blades are considered to have souls and to choose their wielder. There was an arc where somebody attempting to steal Naruto's identity says that the name Naruto is heavy and he can have it back. This is also true with the title of 7 Ninja Swordsmen. Not just anyone can don the title, you have to earn it. It's a burden. You cannot claim the power just by picking up the blade and wanting it. Anyway, that's all I have to say for now. Catch you on the flip side!